Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission meeting for January 25th, 2022. Roll call vote, please, sir.
Ms. Buffet.
Here.
Ms. McSwain.
Here.
Mr. Parr.
Here.
Ms. Rogers Garner. Mr. Williams. Mr. Swenson. Here. Ms. Allen.
Present. Okay.
We do have a quorum. We have 5 in attendance.
Thank you. Our first order of business is that we have to do an appointment of a secretary and assistant secretary. Let me first start by saying that Mr. Brian Donahue has now been named our interim director of economic development. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. With that being said, we need to appoint a secretary and an assistant secretary. At this point, Mr. Donahue, I'd like to, you be the secretary, correct?
If you so choose, traditionally, the 2 senior members of the Economic Development Office would serve in a secretary and assistant secretary role. Obviously, with the recent change with the leadership of the department, that would to my appointment as secretary. The board's choosing, I would recommend in terms of an assistant secretary, the next senior level position in the office, which is Ms. Pamela Kroon. Choose to appoint her as assistant secretary.
Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to appoint Brian Donahue as the secretary for the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission and Ms. Pamela Kroon as the assistant secretary for the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission.
So moved.
Second. You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Okay, hearing none. Ms. Buffet.
Yes.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mr. Parr.
Yes.
Mr. Swenson. Yes. And Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Motion passes. 5-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And just let me say thank you for your continued confidence and the opportunity to lead this board in terms of our office and the opportunity that the city manager has provided to me at this interim basis to assume the role of interim director and provide you all the guidance and assistance you need to carry on your duties and responsibilities. So I just want to thank you for your support on behalf of myself and staff, leadership and your partnership. So
Thank you. Okay, we have the minutes for November 17, 2021. We would need a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
by Mr. Parr.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. You have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Buffet.
Yes.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mr. Parr.
Yes.
Mr. Swenson.
Yes.
And Ms. Allen.
Yes.
The minutes are adopted.
Okay, next on our agenda is our financial report. Ms. Phillips is not here, but we do have our city manager, Ms. Angel Jones.
Yeah, you know, we're really getting down. We have me presenting the financials. Okay, so starting with the balance sheet, you'll notice that you had the major change from November to the end of December was the transfer of cash from Atlantic Union to Bank of America that you're familiar with. Other than that, there are really no significant changes on the balance sheet. So we can move on to the income statement. Again, you'll see just basic income from your bonds, contractual services, as well as no significant changes, basically. So that's why they felt comfortable with letting me do that. So I'm not gonna mess anything up. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to address them or to defer them until next month. So, but that's it. I mean, it's just basically stable and no surprises.
Do you have any questions regarding the financials?
I stayed up all night to try. At the last minute. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to old business. We have our Port of Virginia update. We have Mr. Andrew St. Clair with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you for having me. I think this is, talking to Brian, first time that I've been in front of this formation of the PPIC, so I'm happy to be here. Regrettably, my colleagues, Thomas Cross and Chris Gullickson, who would normally be here, had other commitments. Thomas, as you might know, is up in Richmond with the General Assembly. So, but I'm happy to be here in their stead. So in terms of updated what's going on at the port, you may have seen that 2021 was our most productive calendar year ever, moving more than 3.5 million TEUs of cargo. So that's the first time we've broken that 3.5 million threshold. That's a 25% increase over 2020 volumes. And that's really across all of the various commodity, different container groupings, loaded imports, loaded exports, really across all categories, we're seeing that increase. And unlike what you're seeing in the national news at other ports, we're doing it without congestion. So that's something we're really proud of. You know, we don't have lines of ships waiting offshore, and our turn times for the trucking community has remained stable at less than 50 minutes. So we're proud of the service we've delivered, and being able to provide that back to the economy. A couple other updates. One, you may have also seen last week, the Army Corps released their work plan for infrastructure funding that Congress provided in November. And for us, that included just shy of $70 million for the Norfolk Harbor dredging project. So that's the first federal dollars going into that project. That's been underway using state money. But this is the first federal dollars into that project, which should keep it on schedule for completion by the end of 2024. So we're excited to see that moving on. And then the last update that I think is of particular interest to this group is earlier this month, January 3rd, we put out a request for notification for the contracting work at PMT as that is rebuilt and positioned for offshore wind development. So it is not the actual contract documents, but it is a request for notification. It's on the state's procurement website, EVA. And so it's really making sure that any interested contractors are subscribed in advance so that when that contracting document goes out, which is anticipated to go out on mid-February, February 18th, that they get that notification immediately and therefore have that opportunity to bid on it. We expect the award to take place this summer. There's more details on there. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Sinclair? Mr. Parr?
So since it was the most productive year, we know the port is not a profit entity. Was it the best year in terms of revenue versus expenses? I guess the least operating deficit?
So our fiscal year operates July to June.
Right.
So we don't have the finance. So this is I'm reporting on calendar year volume, right? Calendar year volume.
Okay.
We'll have financial results when we get to the end of our fiscal year.
Any other questions for Mr. Sinclair? All right, none. Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item of business is, well, the PPIC incentive program. Unfortunately, with our Vice Chair Rogers Gardner and Mr. Williams not being present, I'd like to defer that to our next meeting, that we can get our report from them directly. New business. Mr. Donahue.
Madam Chair, we have no new business for the commission this morning. However, we do have a need for a closed meeting. discuss.
Um, At this point, we will read the statement, Ms. Commissioner Bethea, for our closed meeting.
I move to go into a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711, A.3, for the purpose of discussing the acquisition and disposition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding 06th Street and 1607th Street. Second.
We have a motion and a second to enter into a closed meeting. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Bethea,
Yes.
Ms. McSwain,
Yes.
Mr. Parr,
Yes.
Mr. Swenson. Ms. Allen,
Yes.
motion passes. We are now in closed session. Yes, we're- You can excuse yourself. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I told you you were probably patrol today, so.
I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as we identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded. Second.
Second by Ms. McSwain.
Yes, I said it.
Roll call vote.
Ms. Bethea,
Yes.
Ms. McSwain,
Yes.
Mr. Parr,
Yes.
Mr. Swenson, and Ms. Allen.
Yes.
In open session, a vote of 5-0.
Okay. Statement of economic interest disclosure.
Yes, this is a requirement form that is provided annually to all board and commission members in the city by the city clerk. I believe you should have received this previously
Yes.
via email. If you could please, if you have not done so already, please complete and return the form. You do need to submit a hard copy of that to Ms. White in the city clerk's office. But just want to make sure everybody had received that you were aware of the requirement, and that you will return that.
Due by February 1st.
That is correct, February 1st.
Yeah, I have mine right here. That was my reference. Everybody else turned in?
You're right now, she don't be mad
Who
on
sends
the
us the
first.
emails regarding meetings? She
Yeah,
said I can bring mine, but she'll take mine.
At the meeting.
Yeah, no, who sends the emails? That's the
And
Uh,
Does
Ms.
Angie-
Shepherd would send a meeting invitation.
Is she here today?
She is here today.
Okay.
If
Yeah, she
like,
told me I could.
we can have that delivered.
Okay,
Yes, yeah, not a problem at all.
thank you.
If anybody else has their form and would like for us to take that as well, we're happy to do that.
Well, I'll bring mine back up here.
Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate you getting that in.
We now move down to item submission submitted by commissioners. Did not have any. Is there anything that someone wants submitted for our next meeting?
I thought we were supposed to discuss the date for the retreat for our November meeting.
That is an item on the report backs. Unfortunately, I'm happy to address now.
You can go ahead.
We have had some discussion at a board retreat. We were looking at dates in February and March to arrange for that. And this would be a special retreat call meeting. It would not be a regular meeting. So we're just looking at the calendar. It's looking like March may be more favorable just based on a number of factors. But we also are working to have ensuring that we have somebody to moderate that as well. So what we would propose is just notifying you of the date and kind of taking a poll as far as everybody's calendar. What will work with your schedules.
So
Good, Ms. Parker.
So are you gonna send out a survey for dates or?
We
you
will,
gonna
Ms.
work with the
Shepherd will
commission? Okay.
reach out to you and figure out a date that will work best. Again, we're probably looking at the March timeframe, just logistically, ensuring that we have a half a day set aside and then making sure we've got a moderator on board. And, we'll begin working with you to prepare the agenda as well for the items that you would want to cover during the retreat.
You can go ahead and start to send items to myself and the vice chair so that we can get ahead of it ahead of time. So if you have items that you'd like to have covered at the retreat, please begin to forward those to us.
I mean, if possible, I would like to have it before the 23rd of February, because I just don't feel like our February meeting will be as effective unless we have our retreat, because in November, we all decided that we needed a retreat to be able to establish our priorities for this year. So if we could expedite that. I don't know the feeling of the other members.
Let's pull that.
We can take a poll and whichever date is interest and works with everybody's schedule, and we'll work to get that on the calendar as soon as we can. Okay.
Any other items, Ms. Parker?
Yeah, so in the city of Portsmouth's legislative agenda for 2022, the city discussed requesting that the General Assembly raise the Port Post Community Fund from 1.5 million to $5 million. But there's been no bill filed by our legislative contingent, Delegate Scott and Senator Luis Lucas. So not sure if we need to check if that's still something we're moving forward, because that's a significant increase from 1.5 to 5 million, because there's only 5 localities. So that would equate to about $1 million per locality. And especially given that not all localities have a project each year, that might mean $5 million for a specific project here in Portsmouth if we have one of merit. Digging in a little bit to the Port Host Community Fund and the types of projects that other cities, other localities have submitted, I don't believe there should ever be a year in which we do not submit a project, because it does not require a private developer to be part of it. It can be a city project. And for instance, Newport News, I think they used them to construct workforce housing, somewhat related to shipbuilding, the port, etc. But we have a lot of latitude. And so if that money goes up, we need to be poised to act on it. So I just wanted to make the commissioners aware of that. And depending on what we find out with the bill, if any bill's been introduced, if one is introduced, I think it would behoove us to send a letter of support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could just respond to Mr. Forrest's comments. We will certainly research the status of that bill and where that is in the process. I share your sentiments. Absolutely, Portsmouth needs to be submitting an application annually for this program. We were instrumental in the development of the Port Host Community Grant with the other 4 localities that are included in the program. We've been successful to date in having a project receiving an award for what is now the last 3 years. And I'm pleased to share with you this morning that at the end of December, Governor Northam's administration announced that our last application for the FY22 fiscal year was successful and received an award in the amount of $856,000, which is our 3rd year in which we've received no less than 50% of the allocated funds to the program. You are correct that it was increased last year to $1.5 million from $1 million. And obviously we've received greater than half of that allotment of funding. The other two projects, which were also private projects, received $500,000. So we agree. We think it's critical that we're in a position to submit applications. We feel there are a number of private projects that are eligible for the program, and our office works to ensure that every year we will have one for you to have an application for review and consideration. If for any reason that is not the case, we would then look to have a city project come behind that. We have had, I think, probably some of the most significant projects in the program. To provide comparison, Norfolk recently in this round received $394,000, which is going to a boat ramp in the Willoughby area of the city for some improvements to a boat ramp. Newport News received $250,000, which is going to a commercial office renovation project. So worthwhile projects, but in terms of impact to the economy and to a port community, we feel like our projects have been significant, that they have been directly related to the intent of the program as far as supporting port and industrial activity in the city of Portsmouth and Hampton Roads. So I share your sentiments, Mr. Farr, and we're going to be working to make sure that we're always in a position to have a strong application. We're going to be doing that here in the next few months to identify opportunities. So we'll keep you posted on that. But I did want to share the great news that with your support, we had a very successful application. City Council supported it. The city manager supported the application as being the priority economic development need in terms of port-related activity in the city. So we're very excited for International Flooring and Protective Coatings. They're the business that will be utilizing that grant, and they're prepared to move forward as soon as the agreements are executed. So I just wanted to update you on the status of that, and we will certainly update you on any information we have about the bill.
Any other discussion? Report backs? You still?
We do have a few report backs. I think we've covered a couple of them, but I did want to take an opportunity to share with you our year-end numbers for those who are able to join us at our holiday reception. You may have seen some of these figures, but I did want to share with you that we had another great year, calendar year 2021. Significant increases in total new investment coming to the city. So some pretty major numbers here where we had 65 economic development projects that were worked in the city, resulting in over 800 jobs created and impacted, and a total investment of $469 million in new investment occurring in the city. Of that, 349 million was directly attributable to projects that this office worked and directly managed. The difference between the two would be values for added value in terms of real estate improvements that were made to properties in the city, commercial properties, and then also for real estate sales where there was an increase in the assessed value, and therefore it resulted in increase in revenue to the city through taxes for increased real estate values that have resulted in the city. So these are all real numbers and tax revenue coming to the city. You can see here we are building momentum, and that's been our goal, and we've been working to do that. The last 4 years having triple-digit growth, and our hope and anticipation is that this trend continues. $469 million is going to be a tough target to hit every year. I can tell you that, but we're certainly working to do that. I think these numbers show that Portsmouth is strong when it comes to economic development and opportunity. Portsmouth is a place where businesses can come and be successful and invest and see a return, and the city benefits from that as well. So very excited to share these numbers. These are numbers that are really the result of a lot of hard work and team effort, including the entire economic development team, which, as Mr. Moore has said historically, we think is one of the best in the region, but also our city leadership with city manager and city council, and our boards and commissions to include PPIC. Without your support and assistance, we would not be able to achieve these record-setting numbers. So I want to thank you for your support. We had a great year as a result, and we're looking forward to big things in 2022. And we're off to a great start, I can tell you that already. So, you have to answer any questions or comments if you have.
Questions, comments? Okay.
So just two other items that I did want to touch on. The Norfolk Naval Shipyard. There has been a request for an update, and we're working to obtain that, hopefully at your February or March meeting. They've had a transition period there where there is a new point of contact that is going to be coming online. So we're working with them to get them before you to provide it. The only other item is, again, the Ford retreat, which we'll work on getting some dates to you and taking a poll and see what works for your calendar.
Next meeting set is for Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. I used to say it 2022. So it's 222-2022.
Easy one to remember. So.
Yeah. Oh. 22202. Okay. If there are no other questions, further actions during this meeting, everyone have a great day.